This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening. Welcome to Planning and Zoning meeting, April 6th, 2026. We have a couple quick changes here. Ken Quick is not here right now, so we're going to have Mark Parisi fill in for Ken. Brian Cummings is out, our secretary. And we're going to have John Gallo fill that spot. And also Benjamin Lobick is out, and we're going to have Ron Penton fill in for that. Okay, and before we get started, we'll have the members here introduce themselves, starting with Andy.
Andy Bevilacqua, Town Engineer.
Jane Ellis, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
Laura Margarasi, Land Use Administrator.
John Carlo Gallo, alternate.
Mark Parisi.
Paul Wyman, Vice Chair.
Ron Penton.
Kristen Hilton, Land Use Secretary.
And I'm Bob Haney, your chairman. So tonight we have 3 public hearings, and at this point I'll have the secretary read the application P26-06.
Subdivision application of Bruno Ciccone, applicant 1670 Hartford Turnpike LLC, owner relative to 1670 Hartford Turnpike, map 78, lot 25, plan entitled Property Located 1670 Hartford Turnpike, sheets 1 through 5, prepared by Criscolo Engineering LLC, dated 2/2/2026, scale 1 inch, 40 feet, R20 and R40 zoning district.
And if you could name for the record too, please.
Sure. Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street in Branford. Representing the owners, Bruno Ciccone, Ralph Heinecone, and Paul Heinecone, who are here with me tonight. So this property at 1670 Hartford Turnpike is a little more than 8 acres. There's an existing house here. This is a T-shaped property. The R20, R40 zone line kind of cuts through here. And it fronts on Hartford Turnpike for about 273 feet. What we're proposing to do is create some lots and keep the old house as one of the lots. This is the same set we have. This is just the subdivision map that shows the 4 new lots and the old house, which would be the 5th lot. This centerpiece does have some wetlands in it, which we had delineated. We did have multiple meetings at the Wetland Commission, which ultimately they approved. So this color drawing kind of gives you a sense for what the lots look like. These will be rear lots basically, so they'll have common driveways to a point, and then they'll split. These 2 will use the driveway on this side, and these 2 will use the driveway on this side. Currently there's like a horseshoe-shaped driveway, so the curb cuts aren't moving. They'll remain in the same place as they've always been. We have shown, 4-bedroom homes here. That's to be seen, depending on who purchases the lot and what they want to build. But, we are showing like 2,800 square foot houses. We have been also approved, at least at subdivision level, by Quinnipiac Valley. Lots are suitable for septics, and they were approved also for well locations. However, we did get a comment from the fire department that they were concerned that it's too far from the closest hydrant. So we did the plan that I did send in a revised plan that did include extending the water main down to the front of this property so we can add a hydrant. My belief is that when these go back individually to Quinnipiac Valley, they will now have us connect to the water because it will be in front of this property. So there will still be septics, but the wells will most likely be turned to city water connections. Once Quinnipiac Valley knows that we have to extend the main for the fire department. A couple other things that came out of the wetland meetings. We've agreed to basically they're approved with the clearing limits that we've shown, so they're not going to clear any more than that. Also, the center portion of this lot that has the majority of the wetland area is there's going to be a conservation easement so that none of that area around that wetland in the sun could be cleared or cut. We have done an extensive drainage report here. I think ultimately we ended up with 28 hydrographs that had to be added together because of how everything's separated. Routing the roof storage into the rest of the cleared area that will now be lawn instead of trees and that sort of thing. And so it was kind of complicated, but we did submit that, and I don't believe that Andy had any additional comments after that. On the revised plan that we submitted, we did add the sidewalk to the frontage here, but we're requesting a waiver of that for a couple of reasons. There is no sidewalk at all within thousands of feet of here. But the other part of that is that there's an existing drainage ditch that runs almost to the edge of the road here, and there's a guardrail there. So to build the sidewalk here, we'd have to build a bridge over that or fill it in, somehow pipe it. But there's an existing drainage. Some of the Hartford Turnpike runs off into it, but some of it comes, basically this wetland corridor feeds through it across the street and goes on its way. But this open area is, you wouldn't be able to build a sidewalk across it without some sort of structure there. So we are asking for that to be waived. I guess I'll stop for if any commission members have any questions at this point. Again, we're looking for subdivision approval, and each plan would end up going back to staff at some point once the final house design is picked. But we're here looking for subdivision approval.
Fire hydrants, is it just one on the main drag there, or are they?
Yeah, it's about, the existing one's about 600 feet down the street,
Okay.
so they're gonna have us add one right in
Right
front.
in the front there? And you're having conservation, was it an easement you said, or
This is a
restrictions?
conservation, well, it's like a deed restriction,
Okay,
so that none of that.
and that's considered
wetland
lot
area.
3?
Yes, believe that, yeah, that's lot 3. We are in R40 zone here, and the smallest of the lots is over 50,000 square feet. So we're, we're more than the 40,000 required here. They meet all the bulk standards every other way.
And all four lots are gonna be hooked up to city water? Okay.
I believe Quinnipiac Valley will force that issue once they see these plans again, because the Connecticut Public Health Code, I believe, says that if you have public water within 100 feet of your property, you have to connect it. So once this main gets extended, they'll enforce that.
Members have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a few.
Okay.
In all, I think it looks good. I've been hearing applications on this site for a long time, so it'd be nice. But, that being said, I've got a number of concerns that are all related to erosion during construction and somewhat afterwards. I mean, you do have a pretty good hill here. I'm a little bit confused about how you're in the plan. Is the limit of vegetation and the silt fence the same, or do you just have the silt fence on the downhill side?
The silt fence is only on the downhill side, and it's just inside of the tree line that we're proposing.
Okay, given the nature of this site, my recommendation, I don't know how you feel, Andy, but on a site like this with neighbors right downhill, I'd feel a lot better with either hay bales or 2 silt fences. But I've seen sites like this fail through nobody's fault, it's just a bad storm. And if you're downstream of that, it makes, as I'm sure you know, a horrible mess. So did you have any thoughts on siltation control?
Most of the siltation control is associated with the lot development, not the subdivision itself. The lots, I've requested that the lots come in as individual site plans for our review. So that would be the opportunity to evaluate each individual lot and its development and how it's put together.
Okay, and does that also go for the actual retainage or drainage basin, whatever you call it, that is going to be there? Because I didn't really see much detail of that. Is that going to be submitted and approved by you?
I don't think that one will need to come in because there's an existing house there. But
No, I mean for the new houses.
Yep, so all the drainage elements are kind of separated on each lot, so
Yeah.
they will be able to be reviewed and approved by Andy when each lot comes in.
So you'll be submitting that?
That's correct.
And you'll review it?
That was one of the conditions for the wetland approval too, is that staff gets to review each plan before any building permits are issued. The other thing was that we're not gonna go in here and just clear cut this. They're only gonna clear each lot as they're sold. So that will actually help be able to control any sedimentation at all.
And how are you going to control the guy who's cutting the trees?
Well, we're gonna be
If he doesn't
staking
go
out
too
tree
far.
limits. We'll be staking out silt fence and tree limits, and they'll have to abide by that.
Okay.
I mean,
I mean, if it can happen to
Yeah.
the governor, it can happen to anybody. Okay. All right, well, if you're gonna be reviewing erosion control and the drainage for each site, then that sort of answers all my questions, so, okay.
Do you think it might need a secondary backup for siltation?
I mean, it depends on the area that's gonna be cleared and how much
Okay.
is raining to it and, you know, and all those things. So I'll look at that as each of the site plans
Okay.
come in.
Or maybe the developer just do it anyway for,
Certainly no harm in that.
that was just a suggestion.
Just
Yeah.
2 questions. One is, who's going to maintain the basin in the back, the detention basin? It says they're
In the
going to be
front.
mowed and maintenance shall be conducted at a more frequent time, such condition.
So
who-
each-
yeah,
each-
whose
each of
responsibility is it?
Each of these drainage elements are on, they're kind
the-
of separated on each lot, so everybody will have
Okay.
the shared, for this whole thing to work, everyone will have a piece to take care of. But there are drainage easements proposed that says that these people have the right to use and maintain, if necessary, this, so if this guy doesn't
Okay.
take care of it, they can. So,
Is there going to be a HAWA, a homeowners association with this group?
you know, we haven't really talked about that. I think at the end, it won't be necessary, because, again, each element will be owned by one of the lots, so.
And sidewalk, who's going to maintain that?
We're hoping to waive that, 'cause
I know.
and it would end up being the
There's going
town's
to be other
ultimately.
people in here that are going to have to put sidewalks in.
Yeah.
So just,
Yeah, honestly,
and I know
with the
I see
guardrail
where you have
there.
that issue where you have to go build a bridge, actually.
Yeah, so, yeah, right off the edge of the road is a guardrail, and then it drops.
But who's going to be responsible if you do it to? you know,
If it goes in, it would be within the road right away, so that it would ultimately be the town's.
They're not going to maintain.
The sidewalk or the
sidewalks.
homeowners?
Yeah, the
I'm
sidewalk.
talking about snow removal.
Oh, well, again, there are small common driveway elements, so these people will have shared maintenance and access, and these people will have shared maintenance access on this side. So they'll have to plow it themselves. It won't be a town's problem.
Okay. Well done. Any other questions? Any other questions?
No.
All right, we'll close this application. Oh, no, sorry, we'll open up to the public. Does anyone speak in favor of the application?
Mary White.
Yes, Mary White.
Mary White, Summer Lane. I just wanted to say I am in favor of this, and I think it's a good idea when we want to propose to have homes built in our town. So I say approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, any other members have questions? We'll close this application. I'll have the secretary read P26-09.
Application of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire applicant, proposed text amendment to the North Haven zoning regulations to amend section 5.1.1 to allow special permit the restoration of residential dwellings to two-family status in the IL districts. The proposed amendment is on file in the land use and town clerk's offices.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm, and I'm the applicant. Application to amend section 5.1.1 of your regulations, uses permitted in the light industrial district, the IL zone. The backstory to this application is our client owns property located at 256 Quinnipiac Avenue, the Barbera family. And it was originally a two-family home, and then for a number of years, the lower level was converted to a dental office. Dr. Naclario had his office there for many, many years. For a while, he lived above it, and subsequently he moved to a home, rented the unit above, and then finally retired. He and our client, who's owned the property for many years, number of years, have tried to re-let that lower space to no avail. Number of factors, but the change in the office market is probably the primary issue. We went to ZBA to ask for a use variance, and the ZBA and Attorney Capola and Laura thought that maybe a text amendment was the better path than to try to cram a use variance in, even though I think the board was kind of sympathetic to the idea. They suggested the same thing. So we withdrew the application, been working with staff to come up with the text that's proposed. And the reason, well, there's a number of reasons to do it. There's this area of Monowese. There's kind of three areas in town that this application, I believe, would help. This portion of the IL zone on Quinnipiac Ave has never kind of transformed into the industrial uses that maybe was anticipated. In 1982, when you changed the reg from residential to industrial, the area further to the west toward the highway has, but the portion to the north and east along Quinnipiac really hasn't. There's some old two-family homes there that we think could take advantage of this regulation. It's fairly narrowly worded, age of the home, prior zoning. There's some properties on State Street that we thought maybe could use the benefit of this, and then a couple on Washington Avenue. So the idea would be to permit two-family homes in the zone for residential buildings constructed prior to 1950. It wouldn't just be our client's property, but it would not be we don't think it would be a proliferation of this type of use throughout the town. And in these pockets that I mentioned, I think there would be some benefit not only to the property owners, but also to the town, because we think it would create kind of an affordable with a small a, housing opportunities, rental opportunities for folks who'd like to be in North Haven. It would be a special permit, so you'd have to come in with a public hearing and show why the use would work in the specific location. This, we think it would work for the property we'd like to come back with, because really all around it on both sides of the street are two-family homes that previously existed prior to the zone change, and other large, older, single-family residents. So that's my speech, and I'm happy to answer any questions you
This is
might
right on the corner of Quinnipiac and
Yeah.
Clark.
No. But it is right on the corner.
Malta?
Yeah, multiple, right?
Yeah.
Moultrie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is for, it's gonna be for
For the-
anything that fits in that group.
Any questions for the applicant?
Well, actually, how many areas do you think this will affect within the?
Well, it was really hard to extrapolate the information from the assessor's cards of how many that were built prior to 1950, and, but there's only a few areas in town that would be affected by it, and one of them is Monterey's, and the area, well, in Eaton Street behind
Yep.
there.
Multiple.
Yeah, we've also heard there's, another reason why this is coming up is because even though when zoning came and made the areas IL zoning, it always allowed the home-based business or business like on the lower floor. And that's the only other use you could have in these, unless it became a residential use. There's some, if you look at it from that point of view, we were kind of getting we're hearing concerns from some folks that they weren't able to rent their office spaces in residential areas due to, changing times, COVID, Amazon, telemeetings. So I'm sure there's more than this property in town
There
that
can't be
is
like-
having a problem renting.
Can't be that many like this situation.
No,
I mean, this is pretty unique.
From what we were able to get from the assessor's record, we kind of counted the existing ones, and there were less than 20.
Okay.
Yeah, if it was more than 25, I'd
Yeah.
be shocked.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
a-
conservative, it might even be
Yes.
a dozen or less.
Yep. And gosh, when you started mentioning these names growing up, like a block away from this place there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, and you're gonna be coming back in front of us anyway for this, for a site plan?
Yes, it would be a special permit.
First, okay.
Yeah, so we would be back.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Public?
Yeah, and we'll open this up to the public. Does anyone speak in favor of this application? Or the, go ahead, Mary.
Mary White, Summer Lane. So for those who may not understand what's going on here, Laura was kind enough to explain it to me. So basically what it is these, prior to the zoning in the 60s, these were two-family homes. And then the zoning changed to allow the businesses on the bottom and the residential on top. So this amendment allows them to go back to having their, the building to be two-family residential homes again, in the non-conforming use. So, like Laura said, people are having trouble renting out the first floor in the business capacity. So I really don't see the problem with this. I think it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Hopefully you approve it.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone in opposition to this amendment? Thank you. We'll close this amendment, and I'll ask Secretary to read P26-10.
Application of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire, applicant, proposed text amendment to North Haven zoning regulations to amend section 5.1.3 to permit village mixed-use developments in the IL-80 district. The proposed amendment is on file in the land use and town clerk's offices.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, the Commission. For the record, my name is Bernard Pellet. Bernard Pellegrino, I'm the attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm in New Haven, and I represent Haynes Development Corp., who is Patrick Haynes, Kyle Bogardus from Langen Engineering is also here with me. You'll hear from him. We have a PowerPoint. We're gonna
Work it on right now, if you don't mind.
Look at that, man.
I'll do a
Show on your
little
forehead.
intro, just to kind of set the
That'd be
stage.
a forehead.
You won't need that from me, but then when Patrick and
was on
Kyle
earlier.
come on, you will need to, we've also provided you with paper copies, so if you don't want to strain your neck, you can
We could
Yep, there we go.
go about it.
blind you, Bob.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll move.
I'll move to.
Don't mind the chair, I'll just move here. What's that?
As I mentioned, I'll kind of just give some introductory remarks. I'll turn it over to Patrick and Kyle, and then I'll come back to the boring part, which is just to look at the regulation and the text itself. But we wanted to give you an idea of the inspiration for why we're here, and the vision that we have for the site. This area is also presently zoned industrial, so we're seeking a text amendment to permit mixed-use development, residential and commercial, in the zone. There's, in the zone between, on Elm Street, between Bailey Road and Sacker Point. So there's not many sites that would otherwise qualify with 20 acres, but I suppose there could be a conformance of blocks together. But I think it's fairly limited in scope to our site. So our site is located on Elm Street. It also has frontage on Sacker Point Road. And it's 30 acres. And as you're going to see in a moment, we'd like to develop a really exciting mixed-use development on that site that would include apartments, commercial, office, amenities for the town, for the residents. You'll hear about walking trails. We've put in a lot of groundwork before filing the application and being welcomed by you this evening. We've met with the folks at the Quail Run condominium. We've met with concerned citizens like Mary and Tom White. We've spent time with staff and with some of you. We've had open house at Quarry Walk, which you'll hear about in a minute, which is a development that Haynes has done in Oxford. And so we met with the Trail Association because I mentioned that they might have an interest. So, and there are miles of walking trails designed into the site. We're trying to really make the showcase of the development Bruce's Ice Pond, which you can't even see anymore because of the invasives that have taken control of that feature. The plan is to clean all of that up. We've been working with the Wetlands Commission to do that. And so those are all things that we've been doing before arriving tonight. I've worked closely with Attorney D'Onofrio, with Laura, with Andy to create the text. I think when we look closer at it, you shouldn't be surprised, because a lot of the text language we were able to bring in from other existing regs that you've already adopted. So we have spent a lot of time over many months getting ready for today. The regulation would then permit, if passed, we would be back again, just like the last one we talked about, with a special permit application with the design plans, the technical reports, drainage, traffic, although we've gotten ahead of traffic and already have a traffic report. We already have design traffic improvement, which he will talk about a little bit later. So I'll let them really show you the vision and, as I said, the inspiration, and then I'll come back later and we'll go through the text, or at least I'll highlight some things for you so you understand what we're seeking. So with that, Patrick Haynes.
Thank you very much for having us tonight. Patrick Haynes with Haynes Group, Haynes Development. Appreciate the time this evening. Wanted to talk a little bit about what we hope to bring to North Haven over at the corner of Second and Elm. So Haynes Group, we're a family-owned contractor. We operate a few aggregate quarries and a real estate developer. Amongst many projects throughout Connecticut, our flagship project and really what we are hoping to bring here to North Haven is a project in Oxford, Connecticut called Quarry Walk. Many of you, if you've been, if you haven't, encourage you to come by. But Quarry Walk is it's about a 30-acre parcel, very similar to in size to our property here on the corner of Second and Elm, so just about 30 acres. You see on the left-hand side, Quarry Walk in Oxford started as a rock quarry. Undesirable site, and we went in, mined and exported a lot of the rock, and over the course of about 25 years or so, built Quarry Walk in Oxford. Quarry Walk is a mixed-use development, currently 162 apartments, about 270,000 square feet of commercial retail space. We're actually in the process of expanding, adding about 65 more apartments and another 15,000 square feet of commercial and office space. Really, Quarry Walk is made up of every use that you can imagine, from a grocery store to a hardware store with a post office in it, to an ice cream shop, veterinarian, daycare, a Goodwill, many local boutiques and small shops, as well as the apartments. We like to believe that Quarry Walk in Oxford has been a successful project, not only for us, but for the town of Oxford, and for what it has really done for the town of Oxford. There was no town center in Oxford, and we helped to build that, create that with now Main Street in Oxford, as well as a town green that's used for gatherings and charity events and festivals almost every weekend, concerts during the week, many different things to bring the community together. Kind of a couple of the big things that we like to talk about that have come out of Oxford, and again, what we plan to do in North Haven is very similar in overall size and scope. A little bit different in some shape, but from a job creation aspect, Oxford, Quarry Walk, businesses that have come to Quarry Walk have created somewhere around 2,000 jobs. Many of those are jobs that did not exist before. From a person opening his or her counseling business, one or two counselors, to a grocery store that was not in the area, came to Oxford and employs well over 200 people. So there's businesses big and small. And with that job creation comes what we know to be somewhere in the $70 to $100 million in annual wages, money spent in the community, we generate somewhere around $2 million net property taxes, so after any expenses to the town of Oxford. We have somewhere north of 50 businesses. Many of those are startup businesses. Many of those are people who live in Oxford, been in Oxford their whole lives, and wanted the opportunity to start a business. One of the things we're most proud of is our over 17 women-owned businesses. Again, from small to large, startup to second restaurant. So that's just something we're very proud of, and that also included in Oxford that we absolutely hope to bring to North Haven is the concept of walking trails. So around Quarry Walk, we have about 1.5 miles, a little bit more if you include the sidewalks within the property, of walking trails that are used by folks who live at Quarry Walk, folks who visit, live in the town. It's a community space, and so those, especially now as the weather's getting great, those trails and walking paths are used all of the time. The green, as I had said in Oxford, is really a community hub. We host annual charity events. We had a really pretty horrific flood in 2024 in Oxford that thankfully Quarry Walk was spared, but the town was not. And we helped to raise over $1 million for Team Inc., who was helping victims of that flood. And that's just one of the one example of the community and charity events that we host at Quarry Walk. And I bring all of this because this is what we would like to help and bring to North Haven. This is how we are involved in the community, and what we build is it's a lot more than just apartments and shops and that kind of thing. We really help to build addition to the community. So I'll talk just a little bit about kind of bringing to North Haven here, corner of Sackett and Elm, right across the street from the high school. On the left-hand side there is an aerial. I think that was somewhere around 2006 timeframe. We've owned the property since a few years before that. It is the old Plasticrete dumping grounds or sort of fill site. So that's what that site looked like in 2006. Here we are about 20 years later after that. We've done a lot of, or all of the remediation work to clean up what had been dumped there before. A lot of bricks, wood, nothing, no serious contamination, but a lot of construction waste and that type of thing. So that's where we are now. That's what the site looks like. And our concept here that should we move forward after tonight, that we want to bring in is a mixed-use development with 400 apartments and about 150,000 square feet of commercial retail space, office space, anchored certainly by walking trails throughout the whole property, all surrounding. We intend to really make great use of Bruce's Ice Pond, revitalize the pond, clean up around through all the edges, so it can be something that the public engages with. We intend to have a center green, very similar to what we've done in Oxford, where there'll be a bandstand with the back facing the pond, and really engage with Bruce's Ice Pond, and have a place where people can live, go have an ice cream, sit out on the green, listen to some music, enjoy a spring night. Come walk your dog, even if you don't live here, a place for the community and people to spend time. We've worked with the Trail Association. We're very excited to engage with the Trail Association on some educational components of helping explain some of the different vegetation or wildlife, and really some of the history of Bruce's Ice Pond, and do placards and educational tools throughout our walking trails. We are working with a daycare that would be up towards the front there of near Elm Street. That we have a daycare in Oxford, and every day those kids are out on walks throughout the community, and we would hope for that same sort of engagement and really an opportunity for those kids at the daycare to be engaged with the nature and surroundings here at North Haven. We have not named the project. That's something that we're going to ask for input from the community and others. We haven't landed on anything that's hit home just yet. So this is rough site concept, site plan. I think we have a few pictures of some of the architecture and some of the some renderings of what we hope this North Haven village will feel like and look like. Big on again working with Bruce's Ice Mountain. That's to be something that can be engaged with. On the lower left-hand side there, you'll see some of our vision for the commercial and retail space that would be closer to I-91. On the right-hand side, you see the green, you see the bandstand. Surrounding that green and bandstand will be restaurants, small shops, that type of thing, all flanked by 2 apartment buildings on facing the green. This is a concept of the architecture that we're envisioning for the apartment buildings. Here's a short video that we have.
Yeah, I can see this.
So, appreciate you taking the time. Just pretty pictures there and really nice looking videos. I hope that if you've been to Quarry Walk in Oxford, you know that we absolutely intend to bring that vision to life, and that we hope that those videos, those renderings are only a small example of really what we think that site in North Haven can. We definitely want to address some traffic, and Kyle Bogartis from Langen Engineering is here from Houston to do that. And
yeah. Good evening, Kyle Bogartis, Langen Engineering. Yeah, you actually can, so that they don't get blinded. It's the last page of the presentation.
Okay.
So
You want me to move again?
No, you're good. It's one slide. Yes. BOGARDUS. Like I said, Kyle Bogartis with Langen Engineering, managing principal. I used to be in our New Haven, Connecticut office, and when I had the pleasure of working with the Haynes Group on Quarry Walk, and they've asked me to stay involved with this project as well. So there's a lot, you notice a lot of the similarities. But one thing that Bernie mentioned, and we want to just talk about briefly tonight, was the traffic. We know it's an underlying condition that's out there on Elm Street, mostly associated with the high school and some of the peak challenges that occur there. So we want to get ahead of that issue. We met with the residents at Quail Run to really get ground truth, what's going on out there on a daily basis. We did counts, we observed not only the bus routes, the drop-off situation, and obviously we're going to be bringing in some additional traffic to that corridor, so we want to make sure not only our project would work well with the traffic, but also we hope to alleviate some of the existing conditions that are there. So we're going to do a full-blown traffic study. We'll submit that to the town as part of our special permit process. We'll have to go through the ASTA review process as well with CONDOT. But in short, that corridor could use some improvements at the existing signals, mainly Elm and Bailey. What happens in the morning there, and many of you probably are nodding your head because you experience it. It backs up past the high school. So we're going to add an additional right turn lane at that intersection, redo that entire signal so we can get the rights kind of keep going and have a left and through that's signalized there. And then we'll have actually a new signal at our main entrance. So the main entrance off of Elm will have a signal as well. And I think that whole corridor will see improvements. We reviewed this with the residents at Quill Run, and they were quite pleased that some infrastructure will be improved and some widening to occur to have that all happen there. Like I said, we'll have a full TIA that'll be submitted as part of our special use application. But we want to let you know that it's kind of top of our mind that it's got to be addressed, and we've been working hard towards that. I'll let Bernie talk to you a little bit about the.
Maybe I'll just go through the text, and then if you have questions on any of this stuff, our team is here. So you all have the text in your packet. Like I said, the kind of the format is similar to what you've done for mixed use or apartments on Washington Avenue and in other areas of the town. So we tried to follow a similar format. Minimum lot area 20 acres, the setbacks, 35% is the maximum building coverage, maximum height is 60 feet, maximum height in the IL zone today is 60 feet. So we're staying within the current building height in the existing zone. You have to have public water and sewer, obviously. Site, this area of town has both. On page 2, we outlined the various uses. Again, we took most of these from your CB zone uses. We permit sale of alcohol in restaurants. We permit a liquor store to locate to the site. So we have the 300-foot distance from store to door. Parking, we envision shared parking. We will obviously, we have experience with our site in Oxford, which we think will operate similarly. Obviously, that's something that we will bring before the commission when we bring in our special permit application, as well as circulation within the lot. We envision on-street signage to come to the commission as part of our special permit application. That is the signs that would be at the Elm Street entrance and the Sackett Point entrance. For the interior lot signage, we would continue to use the process that requires the sign permits through the land use administrator. Obviously, section 10 requiring, open space. That's really a feature that will be a predominant one for our site. Creating that community space, that open space, not only for the residents or the business invitees, but for the town as a whole. We hope people in the area would come, park, and use our trails. Use the dog park that we intend to locate on the site to walk their dogs or exercise their dogs. you may have seen the reduced lot size. That's more of a financing mechanism to allow us to create lots within the overall property to allow separate, sometimes separate ownership, but usually separate financing for the various types of use. And that's a financing technique that has been successfully used by the developer in other sites, including Oxford. Special permit, you'll see in sections 14 and 15, the criteria for you to use in reviewing the special permit application, you know, health, safety, and welfare types of things. Language, which, again, I did not recreate the whale. I've taken from other from other uses in town which are permitted by special permit. We're proposing a requirement of 10%, at least 10% affordability at 80% of the AMI. So there will be a component of affordability for the project. Again, we want to encourage, we want to be able to provide housing that is priced for a variety of potential residents, teachers, policemen, firemen. So we've spoken at length with the town about, the administration about an affordability requirement, and we're happy to do that. Those are kind of the highlights of the text. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this, or Kyle, or Patrick, or any other members of our team on any other questions you may have regarding the presentation so far.
Do you have a timeline, Bernie, about the next site plan?
We think, we gotta go to wetlands.
Yep.
We're filing there. Did we file yet?
No, we'll file in the month, end of this month.
So we'll file, we're gonna go through that process. That may take a few months. We hope to be able to file and be back late spring, right?
Okay.
Yep. As I said, the traffic study is pretty much done, right? A lot of the engineering has been completed. The architectural team is really moving, so we're gonna be ready quickly.
Okay. Just like, I'm not a traffic study by any sense of mean, but have they looked at the possibility of making sections or part of Elm Street a one-way, changing the directions?
We have not studied that,
Okay.
but we could, we'll take that back and take a look, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in depth. I mean.
Yeah. The improvements that we are proposing, we saw noticeable improvements in how particularly Bailey and Elm was.
But I do
functioning.
like, yeah, when I heard that, so I do like that, that improvement. That'll help out greatly. Yeah.
Yep, we'll
Okay.
take a look.
Thanks. Any other questions, or?
Yeah, I've worked with, the schools right there. So I've worked at schools. I work with juveniles, and my concern is, you have the middle school and the high school right there, and there's probably 1,200 students, right? Is there any kind of safeguards of having these kids not congregating there and then crossing the street, or let's go get a Dunkin' or let's go get coffee before coming late to class, and continuously being in that area and then walking across the street and potentially causing safety hazards? Maybe some kind of security, some kind of, outposts, see who comes in and out, because I've been around schools for the majority of my career, and sometimes, that is a huge distraction, having all that commercial property adjacent to a school.
Sorry, that's me.
You know what I'm saying?
Kyle can talk a little bit about the safety and the crosswalks and the sidewalks, but we also have our own on-site and maybe on-site safety. And,
Yeah, you have a football game, sporting event, you might have 2,500 people, and then all of a sudden let's all go to across the street and hang out, and they're all in the parking lots where your residents and things of that nature. Just even for the your residents and for the safety of the kid, for both.
So the sidewalk portion and how they get to and from, we've taken into consideration. We'll have sidewalks along our property frontage, and then the signal will have a pedestrian leg for it to allow folks to come across. We want to encourage that, and to some extent, I think also when these centers are done well, the vibe and the people around help also police that to a certain extent, and we're hopeful there.
Can we kill that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand. The only concern is for me is if there's kids, and will that be a burden on our police departments and our municipals having to continuously come in and out and make sure kids aren't, congregating or, I mean, North Haven's relatively a quiet town and kids are pretty behaved, but when you have 1,200 juveniles, in proximity, things could happen, and I was just curious if there's any provisions to prevent that from happening.
So I'll take that. We understand that, and we are, again, we're very well versed in crowds and a commercial space in a small town of Oxford where there is nothing else to do, and that was certainly a concern that, well, that's where everybody is going to congregate, and truthfully, we want to encourage that type of engagement. We want there to be shops, places for those high school kids to get a job after school. We do want a safe place for the kids to go and get a coffee or a sandwich or whatnot, right? There's benefit in that it is in a, like Kyle said, in a center, in a development that it does police itself in a way that the vibes kind of create a safe center and a safe place for kids. So we think that there's good there, that a place for kids to go and they aren't going to be drinking and doing these types of things in the parking lot, because it's not going to warrant it. It's not allowed. We have on-site property management. We will and strive to have a very safe, easy place for people to spend time. So in some cases, we do want to encourage that interaction, not over-interaction.
I mean, I agree. Like I said, I think it's a great idea. I just, like I said, I've worked with kids and I've worked with schools that are near large commercial, and they're coming in late and they're coming across the street, and, they after school they sit there and congregate. Not that they're doing anything wrong, but, when you have a large crowd of people, it does sometimes bring residents will have some concern. So I was just curious to see if there's anything that would be
you mentioned the strain on police and fire. We do want to and plan to be engaging, working with both departments to get input, thoughts, processes, things that we can do to help work together to make sure.
We're here tonight to look at a text amendment for an idea that you have. And, what will be coming later is the special permits, all of the site plans, conversations with the police, conversations with fire. So those things will all have to be addressed.
Sure.
Going forward. So, but we need to do this text amendment in order for you to submit those documents. So just want to make sure everyone understands that. So we're not proving what's here. We're approving the concept in that particular zone. So. That's what we're looking to improve.
The North Haven Library will be closing in 30 minutes. All computers, Wi-Fi, and printers will automatically shut down in 15 minutes. All purchases for the bookstore and cafe, as well as library card application, must be completed by 7:45.
Very good. Any other questions or concerns?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ron.
a couple. Paul actually brought up my biggest point or question, because I'm not a lawyer. Why do you have to do this? Why can't you just come in with a site plan and a special permit application?
Yes, good question. It's a lawyer question, too. Thank God I'm a lawyer. The IL zone has certain permitted uses, and this type of use is not a permitted use in the zone. So we're asking for this text amendment that would allow a use like we are envisioning for the site to be able to be presented to you by special permit for this particular site when we come back.
Okay, that makes sense. And just as a general comment, I mean, I think it's a nice plan. It's certainly pretty and everything. We've all seen pretty plans. And I have great respect for the Haynes. I used to work with them and sometimes compete against them when I was in business. That being said, this amendment doesn't have Haynes' name on it. It doesn't have the site on it. It's just generic.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, if we approved this, Haynes, although I'm sure they're not planning it, but they could, the day after tomorrow, go out and sell it to another developer who could then not do a pretty project. And so I've got some questions that I think we should at least think about to protect ourselves, not from Haynes, but should they decide to sell it to somebody else, I don't want this to be used against us to say, oh, you said we could do this, so then we'd have a hard time fighting it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think an important piece to that puzzle is we would be coming back with the actual design plans. So you would have obviously that opportunity to review the plans and the level of detail that would come into what you approve, which then would hold not only Haynes but anybody else accountable to constructing that plan.
Understood. Well, let me just go through what my questions are.
Yeah.
I just want to throw them out there. You don't have to respond.
Sure.
But it's just questions I had. Again, should another developer decide to try to cram as much stuff into here as they possibly could.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the biggest things is there's no limit on the number of apartments that could go in here. I mean, somebody could, I don't know hypothetically how many they could put in, but somebody could come in and want to put in 1,000 or 1,500 apartments. And this doesn't put any limit whatsoever on the number of apartments that could go into the site. And I think and again, just food for thought, and it's just my concerns. We can discuss it when we're in deliberation and everything. But I think there should be some cap on the number of apartments before we approve it. As far as the height of the buildings and the setback, with this plan, that looks great. But if somebody were to flip it and put the apartments against Quail Run or the other residential things there, you got a 60-foot building that's only 50 feet back from residential. And I'm uncomfortable with the geometry where the building's taller than the setback. You're looking down into somebody's backyard, and that seems uncomfortable to me. Some of the uses I think we should at least think about. One is the brewery and distilleries. Do we need that? Do we even want, and this is one, it brings up one of the other things. You're asking for a 300-foot setback because of the sale of alcohol. Unless I'm wrong, our current setback is 500 feet. And we've all run in, we know what happens when somebody tries to do things less than that. And I suspect the 300 feet is because the high school's right across the street. My concern is if we approve this, then 2 weeks from now, somebody's gonna come in wanting to put a package store 300 feet away from something saying, but you just approved this. I think it sets a bad precedent. Now personally, just personally, I think if somebody wants to put a restaurant serving beer and wine and spirits and everything in there, I don't have a problem with that. A package store, I'd have a little bit of a problem, and it changes our long-established precedent about setbacks. So I see that as a potentially big problem. So one that I think could be fixed, but the way it's written now, it could be a big problem. Let's see. Site plan. And the affordable housing, nice to see the 10% offered. But we all know that 10% is where we need to reach if we want to get some relief from 830Gs. And we could approve 100 projects like this at 10%, and we're never going to get to 10%. You have to get more than 10% in order to bring our 5% up to 10. So I would suggest that for consideration purposes, we juice this a little bit to say 10% at 80% and another 10% at 60%. If we did that, that's going to bring us closer to the goal that we need to meet for the state to avoid 830Gs. So, and the very last thing, which I think is a misprint, you said 5.1, .3, .17, .16, it should be 0.17 something.
No.
I'm just uncomfortable with it basically saying that if there's anything else we want to change or anything different, it's okay.
Well, I think
Get out
that,
of jail free card type thing.
I think it was meant, what it was meant to say is if there's a conflict between this and another reg, another section of a zoning reg, this reg would apply.
So those are my concerns. You know, we can discuss them here. If you want to respond to any of them or not, it's your prerogative. But those are my concerns with, I would be reluctant to approve this exactly as written for those reasons.
Well, maybe what we'll do is get input and any other questions that you may have, and then we'll respond.
You want to have the public weigh in?
Yeah, I was going to say we'll get additional public comment.
Sure.
And then move on from there.
Yep.
Does any other board member have a question? We'll open this up to the public. Does anyone speak in favor of the application? Yes, Mary.
Mary White, Summer Lane. So I'm in favor generally of the text amendment, but I definitely would be in favor of some tweaks being made to it before you guys vote on it, especially some of the points that Ron just brought up. I think the cap is important, and also to think about like the big picture, like what you were talking about, Mr. Chairman, as far as like, well, what happens if they sell it and we're dealing with somebody else, you know, how they could manipulate certain aspects of the text amendment. So, which would not be advantageous to the neighbors. So, but anyway, so with that being said, did I say Mary White Summerlin? Anyway, yeah, so that's who I am. So I did want to start off by thanking Land Use, Christine and Morgan for helping me get a copy of the text amendment, and I wanted to thank Laura, our Land Use Administrator, for taking the time to answer my questions. And I'd also like to thank Tom Haynes and Attorney Pellegrino for meeting with Tom and I, answering questions and concerns and listening to some ideas that we had. And so I did want to bring up some of the concerns that I had, which is, you know, they've addressed, some of which we've heard. So I was concerned about the contamination on the site, and so I was pleased to learn that they have worked with DEEP and that they have done the cleanup, and they intend to clean up Bruce's Ice Pond there. And yep, also we were concerned about the traffic, and so I think, you know, their ideas, you know, sound good. Widening barely the intersection, but what I wanted to know is their ideas for dealing with the traffic. So that's not part of the text amendment. That's just something that's going to happen down the road. So is there a way that we could put something in the text amendment that would, you know, incorporate, you know, that it has to be done if this concept is approved, the text amendment is approved, like, I don't want them to be able to come in, somebody else, and say, well, there's nothing in here that's making us deal with the traffic, you know what I mean? So it's just something, I don't know if it's possible, so I want to put out there. But I am pleased with their ideas on how to deal with it. And one thing that they did mention too, as far as the apartments, they talked about that there would be parking garages underneath. So that's something, as far as like, they wouldn't be taking up the parking, they'd be underneath. So then we talked too about the strain on public safety, police and fire. So Tom and I, we did go out there, we did experience Quarry Walk, and I did notice that there were cameras all over the place, so I think that that's good. And they talked about, so they, in Oxford, they generate $2 million in tax revenue, so that will help, if that's the amount that is anticipated to be revenue for North Haven, that will help our town hire needed firefighters. If any of you are familiar with any of the budget meetings and everything, I'm always, and Board of Finance meetings, I'm always asking and advocating for more firefighters, which we have not hired any new firefighters, which we need. We haven't hired any in 4 years. So perhaps now the Board of Finance would hire firefighters. So then we talked about the strain on the school system, and they talked about how they have only 8 new students in Oxford, so there's not an anticipation that there would be a strain on our school system. We talked about the views of the neighbors, and they'll have trees for screening. And then so I did talk about, I felt that there's too many apartments that they're proposing. So I'm definitely in favor of a cap for sure. Because I noticed that, so in Oxford, they have 270,000 square feet of office and retail, and they're proposing 150,000 square feet of office and retail for North Haven. So to understand their concept, it's live, work, connect, lifestyle. It enhances convenience, community, and experience. So I just think that it's too many apartments, and they actually need to bring in more retail, so that, because they have people, some of the people who live there, they work there, they shop there, they eat at the restaurants there. So, I want their concept to work, and so I just think there's just too many apartments, because you want to be able to attract the public to come in, and you just want that whole concept to work. So I'm in favor of the text amendment, but I think we need to add language to it to protect us. Okay.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Does anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Yes, Tom.
Tom, like Summer Lane, to add to Mary's point, that concept in Oxford, the way they structured it, residential versus retail, seemed to adequately support the entire community, where residents
Your final selection and bring them to the circulation desk for checkout.
where residents found themselves not having to leave the community to get everything that they needed on a daily basis. So it actually controlled the flow of traffic leaving the site. People would come home, park their cars at their apartments, and go into the community to get all their needs, even dinner, shopping, and not have to leave. So we thought that Tom Haynes' idea of residential versus retail, his ratio was making it successful for that community. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor? Bernie, you want to address any of the concerns?
Yeah, just a few things. I think couple of things. One, when the special permit is approved, with the design of the plans, conditions that you may put on it, X number of units proposed and built, requirements for traffic improvements that we would propose as part of any development, and the special permit criteria that you've used successfully in regard to other projects would prevent someone from coming in and developing another project. They would have to develop what you approve. If they want to do anything differently, they would have to come back to you, and you would have to amend the approval. Otherwise, they've got to build what you approve for us. We're not selling the project,
Yeah.
but I mean.
I was gonna say, I would like to think that, I mean, and Paul and I, we actually went out to Oxford just to see that project there, had dinner there, it's very nice.
Yeah.
I would like to, I'm pretty positive that their development plan is not to like get everything passed and
No.
then shuffle it off. It's-
Yeah, I'll just speak to that. That
Okay.
is part of the reason I'm here. My brother is here. This is family business, and the idea, we operate and manage Quarry Walk ourselves, and so this is not a not something we're looking to come in and get approved and flip. This is something that we are going to invest a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources into, and intend to be part of the North Haven community for a long time. Just kind of ties to the idea of the affordability component. The 10% that we have proposed in there is a very real number for us in terms of this is going to be a very, again, financially intensive project. It's going to cost a lot of money to build, and we will do everything that we can to provide housing for everybody, but we have to be real to the market conditions and to the financing of the project, and that's why we have the 10% number in there, because we have to ensure that this project that we can afford it, that it can be financially successful, and that banks, the idea of subdividing and financing this project, the idea that banks are going to finance it too, and at more than 10%, that's going to be a real struggle. So that is the idea, the 10% affordability component.
Okay, and it's just to address Ron's concern, actually, that would, they would have to come back for a variance
on
for the liquor store. If they were.
If it stays.
If it stays, you gotta have a liquor store.
But they wouldn't, because they're proposing a different distance than is required now.
Okay, so they wouldn't need the 500 feet?
They're proposing 300 feet, so
300
that would
feet.
become the new regs, so no, they wouldn't need a variance.
If we change the
Okay,
You're
text
actually
amendment goes
changing the
for-
regulation.
okay.
But we'd still have to approve the site
in
plan
this
and everything that
district.
goes with it.
Yeah, that district change, just to go to Tom's point, would only apply in this district, not to any other proposed liquor stores in town. They would still be governed by the 500 feet lot to lot.
Okay.
So Haynes Group purchased this property early 2000.
Correct.
And 30.5 acres, and it used to be used by Plastic Crate. And they would take raw materials out and make brick and block with it right down the street. But then they decided to dump a lot of things in there they shouldn't have dumped, which Haynes Group removed and had it taken away. So I think the commitment's there. I don't think they're looking to get rid of it, hope not. But again, the site plan, when it comes before us, we're going to have plenty of time to move things around and put requirements. The state's changing the requirements now anyway on affordable housing, so I don't know where it's going to land. So that's something that by the time we have this, it may be different than 10%. But we're trying to comply with that number. But we're at 5.2 now or something percent. So in order to get more, comply with what the state requires, we're going to have to start bumping. So I don't know where that's going to land down the road, but I guess the point I'm trying to make, a lot of these questions are going to be addressed with the site plan.
Special permit.
Special permit. And, we could, the number of apartments.
At least you got a heads up of what we're concerned about.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Ron? No? Any other questions for the board? Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll close this out, this public hearing. What's that?
Do you want to open?
I did.
I thought you just approved.
Oh, was there anyone opposed to this? I thought you said opposed, no. Seeing none, now we'll close it. I'll have the secretary read site plan P 26-11.
Site plan, site plan application, 200 Valley Service Road LLC, Dominic DiMartino. Applicant and owner relative to 200 Valley Service Road, map 73, lot 130. Plan entitled, proposed site plan documents for 200 Valley Service Road LLC, prepared by Bowler, dated 3/5/2026, scale 1 inch equals 50 feet, IL 80 zoning district.
Mr. Chairman, as we're preparing the easel for you and the commission, let me just begin by telling you my name is Dennis Senaviva, C-E-N-E-V-I-V-A. I'm the attorney Senaviva Law Firm. I represent the owner and applicant 200 Valley Service Road, LLC. With me tonight is Dominic DiMartino, who is a representative of the owner applicant, who will talk about the project as he envisions it with your approval. And making the technical portion of the presentation is Wayne Violette Sr., project manager with Bowler Engineering, our project engineering firm. I'm sure all of you know the location of 200 Valley Service Road. This proposal is to develop it with 80 storage units, all with exterior access, as shown on the site plan that you have before you. It's an 8.5 acre vacant parcel located in the IL 80 zone. The units as proposed are sized from anywhere from 20 by 20 feet to larger units, which would be 25 feet by 65 feet. Again, Wayne will go through that portion of the presentation. The site has a unique layout, being trapezoidal in nature, a very unusual lot, which bounds on I-91. As designed, the project requested and received a variance of the front yard and rear yard setback. Those are in your comments. Those requirements were varied by the ZBA. The project has also received approval from the Wetlands Commission. There was activity, certain regulated activities that brought it before wetlands for the outfall of a drainage pipe and removal of materials associated with the construction of a stone swale along I-91 border. Again, Wayne will now present the technical features of the project. Dom is here to answer any questions you might have about the project, and I know that Dom is very hopeful of turning this historic dumping ground into a viable and productive site. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn that over to Wayne Violette from Bowler Engineering.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Senaviva. Good evening, Commission members. My name is Wayne Violette, spelled V-I-O-L-E-T-T-E.
The North Haven Library is closing in 5 minutes. Please select all items to check out at this time.
With Bowler Engineering. As Attorney Senaviva had just mentioned, we had just finished getting through wetlands, and here we are for site plan approval on this particular site. Site is located here on this map, and in the maps in front of you, located at 200 Valley Service Road, 8.5 acres in size, with I-91 southbound bordering it along its southern boundary. Site's currently vacant. It is cleared for the most part. Anyone who's driven by the area, the majority of the site, probably 5 to 6 areas, is already cleared today. The site's generally flat and it's sloping towards the highway and sloping towards the southwestern corner of the property. Wetlands on this particular map, or the maps in front of you, are located on the western side of the property. For proposed conditions, we have 2 vehicular access points proposed along Valley Service Road. They're highlighted on this map with 2 red circles. At those 2 vehicular drive entries, we have them as gated entries into this storage facility project. Along the frontage and connected to those gated entries, we do have a 5-foot-tall proposed security and ornamental fence located along the entire, or the majority of the frontage of the property. As was mentioned, there are 80 large storage size units with 4 different sizes, 20 by 20, 20 by 45, 25 by 45, and 25 by 65. Just to give everyone a quick peek, and we'll go back to the site plan as well. A visual of the proposed storage units. This is included in the application documents as well. Height of the buildings are 24 feet above grade to the very peak of the roof. These storage units are constructed on the concrete slabs as mentioned in the application. There's bituminous concrete pavement and drives throughout the site connecting to each of the 6 large buildings on the site. Total site disturbance, based on the site plan just showed, is about 5.5 acres worth of disturbed area. As was presented and included in the application, there is no direct wetland disturbance for the project. And I'll just bounce back here, but we'll put this down below. One thing which is a comment, and I will get to the comments in general, we are committed to doing a public sidewalk within the right-of-way along the frontage of the project. That is included in the plans, and that's a commitment this project is making for the project and for the town. A little bit about code compliance, building coverage, max in this particular zone, this is IL 80, which I didn't mention earlier, but max coverage in this particular zone is 35%. Our current proposal is at 23.5%. For setbacks, these are 2 of the items that were reviewed and approved on with the Zoning Board of Appeals. Our front setback by requirement is 75 feet. Our front proposed setback as part of this project is 50 feet. And part of that is the geometry of the site that was mentioned before. Side setback, we're more than compliant, the minimum 25 feet or 70 feet or greater. And then rear setback is 75 feet. Our rear in this case happens to be along I-91 southbound. Our proposed rear setback is 8.8 feet. And again, both of those variances were reviewed and approved by ZBA. Building height was mentioned and we're well under compliance there, well in compliance. Front yard coverage at 75% for the requirement. Our front yard coverage we're at 50%, so within compliance there. And then one other item just related to compliance is parking. Parking is listed for this particular use, self-storage, as per directed, per discussed with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The current proposal does not include any dedicated parking spaces within it. We've got the 80 storage units that are comprised of 6 buildings. We've got pavement throughout the site, but there are no dedicated parking spaces beyond what's shown as pavement areas. And that we may discuss in a bit. A little bit about the drainage design. Per this plan, the plans in front of you, we have 3 stormwater management basins located around the project. We are capturing stormwater through catch basins and piping, and we're ending in one of those 3 particular basins. One comment that we've been in discussions with town engineer is we are anticipating this to be an infiltrating site, and on-site testing is anticipated to commence this spring, this summer, to confirm some of our stormwater management designs. A little bit about proposed utilities. There is no water or sewer proposed for this project. Electrical service will be and is provided, which will be for lighting of the buildings. And then regarding heating, we are proposing propane tanks at the rears of the buildings for heating purposes. So again, no water, no sewer proposed for the project. A little bit about landscape design, and this has been something we've been presenting kind of all along. Along the frontage of the site, Valley Service Road, we have street trees proposed. There's 19 in total to really give a nice line, a nice public entrance to this particular project. As I mentioned, we've got the ornamental fence along the frontage. That frontage will be a maintained lawn between the sidewalk, trees, and the fencing. Stormwater management basins will be planted accordingly, and it's within the design plans, native seed mixes and native plantings. And then I'll just finish up my walkthrough of the project with town comments. We did receive town comments, minor in nature. We've received comments from engineering, land use, fire, police, sanitarian. We have no issue with addressing any of the comments, and we certainly will to comply with the town. As I mentioned, there was a comment or inquiry about water and sewer. I just provided comment on that. Some of the engineering comments, which could be a discussion with this particular commission, is about the sidewalk along the frontage of the project. The dedicated parking spaces. Currently, our proposal does not include any, but it's certainly open for discussion. There's a comment about restrooms. Currently, there are no permanent restrooms proposed as part of the project. Overflow control measures for the stormwater basins. We certainly will comply with that, and we'll provide the details for that information. A long-term maintenance plan was a comment and will be provided as part of the project. And then there were additional comments that came up during the wetland process. One, there is existing floodway or floodplain at the northern end of the site. We need to provide for floodplain permit on this project. And then, as I mentioned, we will be doing infiltration testing, on-site testing, this spring, this summer, to confirm our stormwater systems will, in fact, yield what we're expecting. So that's a light overview of site plan, where we are today. I'll pass it over to applicant for some comments.
Good evening, members of the board. Dominic DiMartino, I'm the owner of Valley Service Road. Basically, what we're putting together here is something very similar to a project that's on Route 68 in Durham. If you go by Tilcon Tommaso, the gentleman, Di Natale, put up a couple of projects, one in Wallingford and one in Durham. I believe the Durham project has about 90 units, and in Wallingford, there's probably a little over 100 units. They basically, it's space for small businesses or startup businesses. As he represented, spaces here are as small as 20 by 20, 400 square feet, but there's 52 units that are 20 by 45, which is just under 1,000 square feet. Currently, we own a facility here in North Haven at 51 Giles Avenue. It's about a 52,000 square foot warehouse. It's fully leased. The smallest space within that warehouse, about 3,700 square feet. We get a ton of phone calls, people looking for 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 square feet. We just don't have it. This is a great space for what I'll call feeder incubator space, where people, they don't need to get into 3,000 square feet now, but they're looking to get into something that's smaller. This will do that. Each one of these spaces, whether it's 20 by 20 or the largest one, which is 25 by 65, will have an overhead door. The door will be 12 foot wide, 14 feet tall, and it'll have a man door that's 36 inches. And the reason for the width and the height on the door is that this is the type of space that if you had a boat, you could back your trailer inside. The majority of them are 45 feet deep. If you had a dump truck and you were looking to park it inside, anything that can go down a road, legal height, will back into these doors. Somebody who has a large coach, like a vehicle, in the wintertime, if they're looking to store it, this would be a great storage for that. The buildings themselves will have cameras on every building and basically all 4 points of the building, so it's highly monitored, with cameras that we can see off the site, and hopefully will help to eliminate some of the problems or some of the activities that we have on Valley Service Road. Just the overall, lighting up the area, the cameras back and forth, should help. Yeah, I'm excited to get this project approved and built. Valley Service Road, this particular project, as a young man, I used to go across the street and ride the go-karts and chip at the golf. It's been undeveloped. It's the first site I've ever purchased, and when I purchased it, it had a cease and desist due to about 1,200 tires that we removed off the site as soon as we purchased it. I think that there's a real need for this type of space, and I say that because our office has contacted the site in Wallingford and in Durham, and both areas are fully rented, and we were told that we'd be put on a list, and there was probably a dozen people in front of us on each one of the sites. So I think if we can get this approved, I think it'll rent relatively quickly, and it'll be a nice addition to Valley Service Road. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, before John Staylor, I wanted to talk a little bit about the parking, because we've indicated there's no extra parking spaces, but it's really the term extra. The reason that there aren't parking, and Wayne perhaps going to talk to that also, but that was part of your design. You have, I think, 65 feet or so between buildings, so you've got more than enough room. And again, you can well imagine that with these sorts of storage units, they're not occupied, there won't be 80 occupied at the same time. You have not only the space inside each unit, but also there's adequate space in front to park a vehicle if you're loading or unloading. Again, it's not a narrow distance between those buildings, it's a 65-foot width between the buildings. I think it's
65 feet between the buildings. I live down the street from the facility. I reside in Durham, so I live down the street from Di Natale's facility for the past 50 years. I've lived in this area. Pat Di Natale built the one similar to this near my home. I go by there in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, come back at night, 5, 6 o'clock at night. I've never seen more than a half dozen cars in the parking lot. It almost seems like it's dysfunctional and it's not working, but it's fully leased. There really is not a need for dedicated parking spaces. I can say that just because of the times I passed by an existing facility. But along Valley Service Road here, if the board felt it necessary that we had some designated spaces or some marked off spaces, we have plenty of room to do it. But I don't think it's necessary. As Dennis was pointing out, there's 65 feet of throw from building to building. Plenty of room in there, and the reason it's so wide is that if somebody was backing a boat up and they had, let's say, a 22-foot bass boat, the tongue of the trailer and the pickup truck, you need that throw, but plenty of areas to park, and I don't think that's going to be an issue.
I think the other thing too mentioned, there's also, as we noted, there's no bathroom facilities, there's no sewer. This is not anticipated to be used like an office. I know Don talked about incubator companies, but just for storage purposes, there's no floor drains, there's no running water in
Right.
any of the units.
So inside of here, we will have the amenity of propane heat, and they have that in Durham as well. Each one of the units will be equipped with a 60 amp panel, so you're very limited to what you have availability for power. That 60 amps is really there for overhead lighting, maybe a battery tender, things of that nature, but there's not going to be enough power per unit to be meaningful to run any type of business or plug anything of real substance inside of it. It's meant really for storage and or equipment to be parked in, and then no outside storage on this as well.
He doesn't want to encourage people after they've stored their goods to hang around and have a couple of Coca-Colas. So by doing this, again, it's designed, it's a storage facility. That's its function. We've tried to do it in a way that is attractive along the road. Wayne has put some significant plantings along Valley Service Road. This has just been an ugly eyesore for years in the town. And again, Don talks about taking out the tires, but it's been a lot of work even from that date, and so we're very excited about this possibility. And again, with gates, cameras, there'll be no on-site employees, as I understand it.
Just more or less just the concept of getting the landscapers or plumbers, electricians out of their home garage and
That's
putting
right.
this type of stuff.
Just store it.
The only other thing I would suggest is maybe putting up security cameras now so that they stop dumping.
I know, I recently saw somebody
Could
dump an actual boat.
Oh, yeah, there's a boat.
An entire boat, not like.
That's on my property. That's on your property?
Don's got a mark for sale.
There's a boat,
Yeah,
there's tires, it's
as soon as I obtained the property, we put in telephone poles and lined the property, so it was harder for people to dump on the property. But along with the tires, we took about 4 30-yard dumpsters of trash out of there. It was, and you are, to your point, recently I was down on Valley Service, and the amount of dumping that's happening, I've never seen it as bad as it right now. It's tremendous. It almost like people are drawn there to dump at this point.
Just don't get caught. So, question on your stormwater management. How long is that gonna go for? Just till the project's finished?
Yeah, if the question was stormwater management as far as retaining stormwater on
Well, yeah,
site?
I mean, you
or-
sauld you're gonna be monitoring it. How long is that period going? Just for the development of the project?
Yes, but more importantly, we're in need to do on-site testing to confirm that we will actually infiltrate based on our stormwater system, because that is how it is intentionally built. If during our testing, which will occur this spring, this summer, if we find our testing is as anticipated, we'll continue to move forward with the design as is. If the infiltration testing that we do, which is a matter of weeks type of thing, testing and monitoring, if we don't get the results that we're going to be needing, we'll have to revisit the design for the stormwater management system.
Okay. Just there's no water or sewers in that street?
No.
No. Propane tanks, they have to be in a caged-in area?
They'll be above ground. They'll be on the ends of the building where there's not as much traffic. You've noted here, here where there's no traffic, here where there could be traffic. There'll be a series of ballards or concrete blocks around them. But this one here is out of the traffic. You have 1, 2, you have 3 that potentially are in the area. What we'll put in the necessary ballards to block them.
Okay. And the only other question I had was sidewalks. I mean,
Sidewalk, when you look at the site here, you're certainly from what I'm going to call the northern side of the project. This is flat, and it kind of goes to about here, and then there's a guide rail that picks up, and the topography then does drop down some probably 30 feet down into a marsh. So we're happy to install sidewalks and go as far as we possibly can. When you hit the guide rail there, you start to go down some 25, 30 feet, and you then go down into a marsh. I think when we had met with the Wetlands Board, they were suggested, the front, and they would like to see us go to the end, but not go any further because we were going to be impacting wetlands.
is that for just aesthetics, or I don't see too many people walking down this.
The sidewalk is something that we're obliging ourselves to do it if the town sees fit to do it now or in the future.
Okay.
We don't think that right now it's necessary, but we're happy to offer it because if this road continues to develop the way it is, possibly there would be a sidewalk starting at our property, up to Amazon. If that's the case, it's a walking path, and we're happy to participate.
I think what we're envisioning, just for clarity, it's a good point, as Dom just points out, we would like to build it to the length that it makes sense, even though I think the comments from the engineer indicates that at the end it becomes disruptive. I think it was a nice term. But we're okay with putting a sidewalk covenant on so that if you made that a condition of approval, maybe that portion wouldn't be built until it matched, another development to our south where it would make sense. Because otherwise you'd be building a sidewalk with quite a drop.
A little drop there. Yeah. Questions from the board?
Just you mentioned the outside storage, which I was going to mention as well. As long as that's in the proposal, that it's no outside storage at all.
Yeah.
But what about, say, vehicle service? Somebody wants to rent the space and put their car in there and come in there on weekends and working on it and stuff like that. How are you going to control that? Because now we're talking about, I'm not saying he's going to run a business out of there, but maybe they wanna work on their dump truck, you've got oils, fluids and stuff like that. I know it's gonna hurt your property, but you have a plan to address that.
So that's the reason we put in such a sophisticated camera system where we can monitor if somebody is doing something like that, and especially if they're doing something where they may be doing something inappropriate with changing tires, changing an oil. We want to make sure that if we see something on the property that's inside of our gated area, that we can address it.
But is there gonna be something in your, say, your rental agreements that say if you can't?
Yeah. This is meant to be storage. This is not meant for somebody to operate a business out of. This is no different than you renting mod space at a storage facility, except for you could back a truck into it. You could put a dump truck. If you were snow plowing and you wanted to put your truck in there with salt and sand and keep it at 60 degrees so that you're not froze up when you go out, that's what this is for.
It's a tough property.
No, no doubt.
So to come up with something that'll work in there and work with the town, it's.
Yeah.
Questions on?
Just one, I mean, I think the site looks great, and I think it's a good use for it, and I'm glad ZBA cut you a lot of slack and everything. My only question or concern is the sidewalk. And it comes to the fact that, you know, for a lot of years, the town of North Haven has been trying to develop Valley Service Road with getting it connected down the other end, bringing power down there. The plan and the hope is that it's going to get developed for the good of the town, which could include some housing along there, hence the need for the sidewalk. The section in question that's steep there, I went there, I looked at it. I think you're exaggerating a little bit when you say 30 feet. It's more like 8 or 10 feet. But I understand it would be difficult and expensive to put that in there. And at this time, I don't think it's necessary. But what I would like to suggest is that the owner agree to a condition that if sometime 5 or 10 years in the future, the town puts a housing project there and we decide, yeah, we really want that sidewalk, that we just call you up and you do it. No crying, no...
Say no more, I agree 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Thank you.
And that's the covenant that I mentioned. I know many
Yeah.
communities that you'll use, so that any future owner down in Skids, they'll understand that, you know, that obligation is there if and when.
Fair enough.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a comment on the dumping down there. We've discussed that with town officials and working towards getting that.
If we get this
cleaned up again.
approved, and like other commercial properties that we own, we work with the local authorities and we allow them to look at our footage. Our footage is stored for 90 days, so this would potentially help the police department to be able to police vehicles that are going through at certain times back and forth. And the cameras are very noticeable. We put them prominently on the outside of the buildings, and we even have special signs made that are half the size of the sheet of plywood that basically tell people, you know, smile, you're on camera. That's the best deterrent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will close the site plan, P26-11. I'll have the secretary read P26-12.
Site plan, excuse me. Site plan application of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire, applicant Liuzzi, 322 LLC owner, relative to 322 State Street, map 42, lot 120. Plan entitled Proposed Addition, property map 322 State Street, prepared by Derek R. Scholl, appeals dated 12/15/2025, CB 40 District.
Good evening. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with Pellegrino Law Firm, and I represent the owner, Liuzzi 322 LLC. This is a very modest amendment to the site plan to essentially increase the building size by 396 square feet, essentially closing in on the board, but you should have them. The area from the existing sidewalk to the awning, across the entire front, and the south side of the building to the exit door for those of you who've been to the YACs, and I'm assuming that we've all been there. So, we got some relief from ZBA in February. This is the site plan. It's pretty basic. You've got the elevation. There's bollards, new bollards that would be installed at the intersection of the building and the parking lot there. That's basically it. Otherwise, the plan meets all your goals.
This is just basically for keeping the elements away. People,
Yeah,
or are they
keeping
gonna
the elements away, I think gives them a little
little more?
more flexibility in the kind
In the
of
room.
lines
Yep.
for the deli, the waiting, folks who are waiting at the meat counter on the north side, so.
Especially Good Friday, this has been
Yeah.
a good day for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, otherwise the site will continue to operate as it currently does.
And do they own that property to the right? Or no? Okay.
They do have rights
Yeah, okay.
for employee parking.
Yeah.
at the time.
Looks good. Straightforward.
They do own, I take it back, they do own the property that's one removed. See, on the north side, there's a little strip.
Yep.
That's the guy in the back. They own the next two properties.
Oh, okay.
North.
That was Catilia's property, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Rocco.
The only concern I have was mentioned, I believe, I don't know if it was the town, one of the town persons, the loss of the sidewalk, and that parking lot as it is right now is very challenging, especially on the busy holidays. You know, with the pedestrian traffic getting to the doors now doesn't have an option. You're physically walking in the parking lot. So, is there gonna be enough room, and is there gonna be enough protection? Because now you're going from one door to the other, you're not, it's not you're gonna park here, you're gonna be walking across the parking lot. You can't just go up onto the sidewalk and walk along the building as you have in the past.
Yeah.
So, from what I can see, there's not a lot of room left.
There's not a lot. What we could do, and we could do some painted areas in front, so there is just something on the pavement that shows that it's a pedestrian area. The site traffic, once you come in there, is really moving pretty slowly because it is, you don't have a lot of room to move there. So it's not like high-speed traffic, but we can put some painted areas there that, show
I'm more
pedestrians.
concerned with the cars backing out of the space back towards the store, and then, my mother-in-law walking past, and if she has to get her a gut, it's gotta be fresh. That's my only concern. I think I don't have any real problems with it. I just wanna make sure that's addressed, and the town is, as far as their regulations for parking, is satisfied. And the safety of the pedestrians.
Yeah, we can work with Andy on some safety improvements as far as painting. And if we want to move those bollards, we could do it. I think we meet the parking requirements, but I understand your questions and concerns.
I've got the exact same concern, and although I understand the offer of painting, that's not going to stop somebody from getting backed into and when snow goes down and everything. I would suggest, and I would leave it up to between you and Andy, that you either move the bollards out 5 feet away from the building and paint in some sidewalk, maybe add a couple of bollards, or put in a curb. Just go up 6 or 8 inches and put a sidewalk in there so that people are walking and nobody can back into the building or into people. But I would...
Not as easily.
Yeah, I don't think paint itself is safe enough. I think it either needs some additional bollards pulled out or a raised sidewalk.
These were the people.
But I would leave ultimately that up to Andy, but something more than just paint.
They do come into this, back into this parking lot, but at least they're up onto the sidewalk. As it is now.
Maybe installation of more bollards.
Yeah,
It's-
we're happy to work and come up with
Some
I
physical.
know what you mean.
Physical protection
Yeah.
for people walking along.
He wants it to be safe.
That's it.
We all want it to be safe
Yeah.
for customers, residents, visitors. So, yeah, if we can,
Extra bollards?
we're happy to do extra bollards and maybe discuss the location of the bollards with Andy
Bless you.
and the contractor.
Is that good for you, Andy?
Yeah.
We like a lot of bollards.
I think the curb.
Well, I mean,
idea
it's
is-
gotta be safe for pedestrians, that's
Yeah.
what it's. By putting a curb, you know, an integral curb and sidewalk across the front and side, you know, of the building, that takes care of the problem. you know?
Yeah, I like that idea versus the bollards.
I mean, otherwise, you're gonna be putting so many bollards out there, number one, it's gonna look foolish.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and.
gonna support the local auto body.
Yeah.
Across the street.
Yeah, across the street.
A sidewalk's the best way to do it.
I would rather see a sidewalk.
Sidewalk and a curb?
Concrete.
Sidewalk.
Yeah.
Flower.
It's not that expensive.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, see, my comments always talk about, you know, sidewalk out on the street, landscaping and stuff, but this isn't a big project. And you gotta really look carefully at what the cost of this is, and does it make sense to task them with so much more, you know?
We have a change of use. We have a change of 45 Quinnipiac Avenue, Unit D and E. Is the applicant here? Yes. Yep. You are Quinnipiac Avenue, Unit D and E?
Yes.
You got it. You're up.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paola, and I do event planning.
Can you spell that for, yeah, spell that please?
Paul's Palace,
Yeah, can you spell that?
P-A-U-S, Palace, P-A-L-A-C-E. So I do event planning, and my dream is to have a space where I can meet my clients, and my goal is to have like a display room so I can show them my inventory and they can like visually see what I offer at time of they booking their event. That's the purpose of the space that I'm renting.
And you're currently in there, correct?
Yeah, I will.
And all you do is just staging, right? Is that mostly your?
It's open space, and I just want to do like a display around.
Like a showcase type?
Yeah.
Straightforward. Any questions?
So
Any
I have
questions?
2 units, and probably the other side of the room, and have like where I do the balloons,
Mm-hmm.
with the balloon for easier for me to deliver, to set up. So it's mostly like storage
Okay.
where I can prepare.
Any questions from the board?
No, I think it's nice
Vote.
use.
Okay, thank you. And 117 Washington Avenue, Unit 2. Ah, yeah. Real estate. Real estate.
Good evening. I'm Amy Fitzgerald. I'm here on behalf of Yellow Brick Real Estate. We are occupying the 900 square foot space at 117 Washington Ave, Unit 2. It's our satellite office. We have headquarters in Milford, and we have another satellite office in Fairfield.
What was this unit before? Was that
Wigtown.
Wigtown, that's, yeah.
Next to Crazy Toast.
Right, yeah. Just a real estate agency.
Yep.
So the interesting thing.
Isn't there one now? Isn't there a
That's
realtor
it.
there
Yeah,
now?
we're there.
That's you.
Yeah.
So this is after the fact then?
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's the interesting part. So
Okay.
they've been here how
Just
long?
wondering, they're gonna put it-
It's actually a year.
1
April.
year. Who notifies us?
Why are you looking at me?
Oh, because you are my go-to.
Yeah, so because it was the previous use wasn't the same use, it's actually going from retail to office space.
Oh, okay.
It requires a change of use, so we're just gonna help her stay on the right path. Yep.
Should have thrown a couple wigs in the front.
People do come in and ask where Wigtown is.
Do we have to give a description of what she does in her office? Or we good?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Any questions? We're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
We had to wait 3 hours.
Alright. So now we'll go into deliberation. Quick question, Jennifer, did you want to talk to us? No? Spectators, what's that?
Mr. Chairman, can I just,
Sure.
just say that as you consider the text amendments, just make sure that you are considering them with the plan of conservation and development. Are they in harmony? It's your planning hat more than the zoning hat at this point with them? Are they compatible with residential, with neighboring uses? Is there the infrastructure to support the use? Those are the kind of things. Thank you.
All right, we'll go into deliberation. Application P26-06, 1670 Harp Turnpike. Do I hear a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve
I'll second that.
And second?
with
With
staff comments.
With
Staff
conditions of, yeah. Also, wasn't there,
Well,
they wanted a waive of the sidewalk?
you know, they don't want to have to put a bridge in there.
Right.
That's the issue. Right, they would have to put,
Or extend the culvert, yeah.
Yeah.
I took a ride by, the sidewalks are so far away.
Oh, yeah.
And
I-
there's no.
I don't see a
There's
reason
no
for
empty
sidewalks.
lots where we're gonna be forced to put sidewalks in at this point, so.
Yeah.
I think it's a lost cause for right now.
I agree.
yep. So we'll waive it with
You okay to
waiver.
waive the sidewalk on?
I'm usually one of the biggest proponents of
I was gonna
sidewalks.
say,
That's why
yeah.
I'm running it by you.
In this case, I think it's appropriate.
Right. So
We're
I'll
looking at you.
second,
They'll turn into a fishing pier at the culvert.
second round.
Yeah. Voice of reason. Thank you, Ron.
So,
All right, so we have a motion for approval, it's been seconded with the stipulations from Andy's officer and the waiver of the sidewalk. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Text amendment, P26-09.
That's the two-family?
Yeah, that's the two-family on Quinnipiac and
I'm going to make a motion
Moulthrop.
to approve that.
I'll second it.
Any concerns or conditions you want to?
I think it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It's fairly limited.
Seems pretty logical.
That whole area has changed over the
It is.
years. They
Yeah.
used to have the cigar
I was gonna say.
factory there,
Yep.
and then people were moving into some of the warehouses after the
Yeah.
cigar factory
Yep.
moved out, so it's been evolving over the years anyway, so.
That's right, for
you know, just-
people who lived in that area, grow up in that area, me,
And
going
yeah.
down to the Gulf gas station where Paul used to work.
Just,
How's it back in
they're
the-
they're still gonna have to come to us on an individual basis to change this over.
Right, yeah,
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
of course.
all right.
And that's also following the plan of conservation,
Conservation
and it's also compatible with the neighborhood. Anything else, Laura? We good?
That's good.
Okay.
No.
So we have a motion for approval, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Board unanimously approves 26-09 with the set forth conditions. The next text amendment, P 26-10. That was the
That's Elm Street.
Elm Street development.
I'm,
Do I have a motion on that?
we have some
Do we want to
discussion.
talk about it first, or do we
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
need
just
to
for
do
the
a
purpose of
motion, or-
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a motion for a purpose of discussion, approval?
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Okay.
You already know how I feel.
And I'm-
And I don't know, honestly, from a legal standpoint, whether we should be concerned or not, but I am, again, nothing with Haynes. I think they're great. And if we do this, wonderful. It would have been nice to have had the site plan before tonight, but that's okay. And I realize that's not the site plan. But for some of the major things, like the total number of unit cap, I mean, according to the site plan, somebody could come in and put in 2,000 apartments if they wanted to. The 300-foot liquor setback, I don't,
Yes, that's where
I
I'm.
don't know,
I'm
can
stuck
we,
on.
Well,
can we ask
832,
council
they could
for
do that.
Yeah.
opinion about that? Jennifer, my concern is that if we change the historic 500-foot, which we're dealing with right now, we deal with all the time, to 300 feet, this sets a bad precedent that could bite us in the future. Am I incorrect or correct or what?
You know, it's hard to predict. Jennifer Coppola from Seal and D'Onofrio for the commission. That's hard to predict because, as you know, somebody can make any claim at any time. I think that you know, you have a circumstance, and I know, you know, we've had some discussion around that particular provision recently in another matter. And I know that, you know, that led to some conversation about sort of re-looking at that as well. So, you know, I don't know if, you know, that's something that the commission as a whole wants to pursue, right? But certainly this is proposed for this district. So, you know, it's a limitation for properties that would meet the eligibility requirements, and that would be the only circumstance in which it would apply. So, you know, I always say, as Laura knows most specifically, that there's no such thing as precedent in land use because there's always some little different fact from one application to another that makes the record unique in matters. So you know, I really can't predict that for you, ultimately.
If we were, hypothetically, if I were to suggest amending this to 500 feet, they could come back when their special permit and ask for 300 at that time, right?
And, well, I will say this, you know, you sort of start to get into, you know, what's in your scope of authority. The only entity that can waive, or, well, vary, we'll talk about waiver in a minute. The only entity that can vary the regulations is the ZBA. So they would need to go to the ZBA in order to vary the requirement. So and then you get into, again, your ability to sort of waive particular aspects of the regulation, and that's a whole separate issue. So could they request a variance? Sure, they could, but that wouldn't be decided by you. That
Can
would
we
be
not
decided
approve
by
it
the ZBA.
if it's over the number that we want, number of apartments that we want? We can just not approve the special permit. But then again, we have the state getting involved in these decisions as well, so.
I'm curious, what do you mean by that?
I mean, if
Commissioner
somebody
Ron?
came in with 830 G,
Well, that's,
they could put 10,000 in there, whatever.
absolutely. if it were an 830G application, you know, then.
Yeah, no
then
matter
it
what
would
we
have to
say
be
as
analyzed.
a zone, as an entity, they could, you know, appeal it and it'll get overruled in the
Well, we
state
don't,
level.
we don't predict that. I mean, you know, there have been circumstances where, you know, the
Okay,
municipalities met the burden.
Well, it can
under the statute.
get overruled.
It can.
Would most of
Sir.
the stipulations be set on the special permit, what we're talking about now? Like distance, and I know, you know, ZBA would have the final say of something like that. But but like a cap on, what is it, it's on the number of apartments? I mean, a lot of these, because we're going blindly into like, without seeing a site plan or anything like that. I don't want to be presumptuous and just assuming that everything's gonna be.
So remember, okay, when you're acting on text amendments, this isn't an administrative decision. This is a legislative act for your body, so for your agency. So you need to determine as a part of, because you're not just zoning, you're planning. So as part of your planning function, this is when you're putting on your planning hats. If there's aspects of the language that you're uncomfortable with, then, you know, you can make changes to the text that's been proposed. Typically, I do recommend that there be an exchange with the applicant with regard to that in the public hearing. But do planning and zoning commissions make changes in deliberation? Sure they do. That, you know, that does happen on occasion, and then it'll be up to the applicant, you know, whether they're comfortable with what you do. I mean, obviously, one would think, for example, and this is not to guide you in any way, that you know that they've made a representation that their intention is to propose 400 units. If you put a cap of 400 units, one would think that the applicant would have no objection to that. So, you know, you wouldn't see certainly an appeal on that basis if that's their intention, right? So, you know, it really is, again, we didn't really talk about, you know, are there other properties that this would apply to? You know, we didn't get into that. I know that was talked about with the prior amendment and the difficulty of that. And, you know, just in terms of that, one of the assumptions that needs to be made is that there are other properties potentially that are currently developed, currently improved, that could potentially be put to the use if it meets the requirements. Properties could be combined. You've got to consider all of that. I know, obviously, there's limitations here, but, you know, again, just part of the analysis.
That would have to come before us also, special.
Yeah,
permits.
sure.
You know,
I would think that this being a unique 30 acres piece of property, I mean, if you look at North Haven as a whole, there's very little left to be developed, other than some farmland. Which would be,
That is absolutely true. You know, and I think all of you are aware of sort of what's being discussed as far as housing is concerned.
Mhm.
So, are there any other particular questions about any other provisions that are of concern that you have?
any questions?
I think
No,
Ron
it's
had
okay
another.
to ask.
Ron, do you have any?
You had another,
There was affordable housing.
yeah.
Oh, the affordable housing.
There was
There you
the
go.
number of units. There was the setbacks
Mhm.
concern. But we could deal with that during
With
site
the site plan,
plan,
that's
because that's going to be,
Yeah.
I mean, with the site plan they
Well, we could
showed,
certainly-
I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
If they flipped it, I'd have a problem with
Yeah.
that, so.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? Ron had made a comment earlier. Are you amenable to the 300 feet if it's for restaurants, but not for liquor stores? I'm not sure if
Personally, yeah. I mean, I think we should have different regs for restaurants versus package stores. You know, you don't get many high school kids walking into a restaurant and ordering a glass of wine, but you do get them going into a package store to buy a six-pack. And so, personally, my concern is that I don't have a problem with the 300 feet if it was just a restaurant. Package store, I think we're setting a bad precedent.
Must have read my mind.
But then it also has to go to
That's a good
ZBA for a variance.
If they wanted, I guess, a package store, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have to go through
So,
the
what?
process. Yeah,
You know, that's what ZBA is for.
right.
So just one
Okay.
more comment, obviously, you've got proposed uses here. Again, you may wanna just take, before you vote, another quick look at that and see whether or not you wanna discuss any of the particular, there's sort of, you know, what we have come to know as sort of typical neighborhood uses, that support residential, but, you know, I don't know if staff made any recommendations about any additional uses to be added, I'm not aware of that. But you may want to have a little bit of a conversation before you vote about that particular aspect. You know, are there any other types of uses that you might want to see? Is there anything that draws any concern for you? Because certainly you can add some qualifying language as far as any of the uses are concerned if you have particular aspects of those uses that again, might be an issue for you based upon experience. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
So I have no problem
Yeah.
going by what they're proposing, a cap of 400 units, and then when the site plan comes through,
Then we'll address it.
address it.
I wouldn't have a problem with a cap of 500 units. I just don't want 2,000.
Okay. So you're saying you want to give them a cap of 500?
Well, let's leave it, you want to leave it the
Because
way
they
it is?
proposed 400.
I'm just trying to be flexible
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
We already,
Well,
we can't talk to them
They
anymore.
feel it's a
right.
reasonable number.
What's
Yeah,
that?
there's some,
They
there's some
feel it's a feasible
calculations
number.
that,
Yeah.
that were put into this number to, also to support the businesses
Yeah.
that are there, and taking into consideration that these days, a lot of people are working from home, and they're gonna be working out of their apartment,
Okay.
and they're gonna be able to,
So what they
Is any-
Notice.
is any of
Notice.
the infrastructure gonna be turned over to the town at any time, or is that
Well, I don't know if
parcel
we
gonna
can
remain
ask- I
private?
don't know if we could ask that
You
to them,
can't
because we are
talk to
closed
them
the
anymore.
application.
We
I'm
closed the
sorry.
hearing.
I'm sorry.
But you can discuss it if you choose to approve it at the special permit.
At the special permit.
yeah. Well,
How do we want to deal with the alcohol setback?
I don't think we should change it. I mean, I
think
like
we
the
should-
idea if we could do separate restaurants, but the 300 feet, I just think it's gonna come back and bite us.
I'd rather let CBA handle that,
Yeah.
because they're gonna be within the 300 feet.
that's if they even have one,
Yeah.
it's gonna be 300 feet.
I think the package store, liquor store, whatever you call it, is a different entity, like you said, and I agree that, I think they.
Yeah, all I'm trying to do is avoid setting
yeah.
a precedent.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. That was one of the concerns I was gonna bring up tonight, and you got ahead of me, which was good. Yeah, that's the one, my one sticker on that, is that.
Would you agree with that, Laura?
I just wanted to make a comment on that. My understanding of it is, so right now, we measure that feet from property line to property line. Not necessarily how far the building
Buildings,
is
yeah.
from the school
Yeah,
to.
chances, based upon that site, it could be 600 feet away.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It could be effectually farther away, and I didn't know if you guys had considered that.
I'm
Is
just
there a way
figuring
to-
worst-case scenario, that's all.
Right, is there a way to, when it comes in for a special permit, to ensure that the actual use is not that close? I mean, that's something you consider, just
Well,
throwing that
anything
out
they open
there,
in there,
because
they're
it
gonna
is,
come before us.
it might not
for
in reality
approval
be
anyway.
300 feet away. It
Yeah.
would likely be on the.
Yes, I'm just
Okay.
hesitant to put that 300 number in there now. I'd rather leave it as it is, well, we got 500 now, and then when they come back, like I said, we'll see where reality is, and they might not even have to come to us. It might be, just a ZBA issue and be done. I just, I don't want to change the, I don't know.
But that may be a one-off.
Yeah.
That may be one-off, it's not gonna,
Right.
yeah. Well, they're gonna start out, from what I understand, they're gonna start out with a,
So just, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it is 300 in the text amendment.
Yeah.
I'm just getting, because some of
Right,
the
we
comments
know
have
that.
been a little bit confusing.
Yeah, we know
back and
that.
forth. So if you change it to 500, one thought is, okay, to be in keeping with the original reg, one thought is that they can locate that pad, that space,
Somewhere else, yeah.
to
Well,
ensure
that's
that
what I was
it
getting
it
at.
meets the 500. Because 500 feet is, you know, considering, and again, this is not to, I don't vote, but one would think that it would be able to be located within the development 500
500
feet
feet
from the
away.
school. I
Correct
would
me
think.
if I'm wrong, the way it's written now, they can carve out separate lots within the site. So that, if that, as long as that separate lot within the site was more than 500 feet, then everybody's happy.
But as the reg stands now, it's property line.
But it's
line.
property line's property line. So if
That's
they're
what I-
within,
I
if they're
don't have the-
within 500 feet right now, and then they wouldn't be able to have any liquor without a variance. They wouldn't be able to even have a restaurant with it.
But what if they carved out a separate lot?
And they
Because the
might.
regs say
I
they can
think
do
that
that.
that's part of their plan is to, at some point during the special permit is to carve out some private ownership lots. I agree with you, I think that's.
And that's,
Yeah, if
that's
they
due to
did
the
that
financing.
for a restaurant,
Still
then they'd be
pre-existing.
Right.
okay.
If they could still get the, you know, that's, I guess they'd have to work that out. I
Let
want
them
to.
Their
figure it out.
attorney could figure that out. He's pretty smart.
I'm
Yeah,
sure there's.
yeah.
So just in terms of, we're talking about property line to property line, and I know that that's been the interpretation of the existing reg. What this actually proposes, it says, provided that no public entrance or outdoor seating area to a permitted premises shall be within 300 feet of the property line. So it can't be any public entrance, it can't be any outdoor seating area. So it doesn't technically say property line to property line. So just keep that in, okay, again.
But
So
that's
that
from
the
the text
record is
amendment.
clear.
I was referring
Yes.
to what we've.
That's what our
Yes,
regs are.
what's
what we've
currently in our
always,
reg.
yeah.
Right, so that they know that if that was, if they were not to accept that, and it not having it be 500 feet away would be a problem for the development, is what I'm trying to say, they wouldn't. I'm not talking about with the text amendment, but
I
how
don't
it
have
is
a
now.
problem with the way that
Yeah.
Jennifer just explained it.
I'm
Do you?
I'm unclear what was just explained.
Okay.
So you need to look at the language of the amendment. It does not say property line to property line.
So it
It-
says from public entrance.
What they're proposing is.
Or,
Any
like
public
if you
entrance or
had chairs
outdoor
outside,
area.
it couldn't be within 300 feet of it.
Of the school?
If, no, not school. It's
The liquor establishment, or any
liquor
liquor establishment.
establishment couldn't be within
But the-
300
yeah.
feet of,
What they're proposing is 300 feet, correct? And then, but what our town regs state are 500.
Correct, it's 500, and that is measured property line. to
Property line, yes.
So it, trying to get a variance on it when they're proposing it now would be interesting.
I still think ZBA should handle it, to make it clear, clean.
Right, but what you.
But we can accept their,
Right, you can
we could accept the text
accept
amendment.
their text
then-
amendment as is. And handle it.
And if it
another
doesn't
time.
meet the text amendment, it'll have to go
And
to
you still
ZBA.
have a chance to get more situated how you want on the site in the special permit process.
This is getting above my head. I mean, it's a legal issue, and I'm just trying to avoid setting a bad precedent. That's all I'm
Right.
concerned about.
Okay.
So we had a motion on the floor
We went-
to end the discussion.
Just a discussion, yeah, so
Yeah.
could we have a motion to go out of discussion, and go into a vote?
I'll make a motion to go out of discussion, go to a vote.
And second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right.
Who second?
Mark did. So text amendment P 26-10. Do I hear a motion on this for approval?
I want to make a motion to approve as written.
And second? I hear a second?
Would you be willing to modify your approval to put a 500-unit cap?
Well, that's what I was going to put on, yeah, before we
Oh,
go to a final vote.
yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned
Say that clearly again?
500 cap.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I would second that motion.
500 cap on the apartments, correct?
Apartments.
Not the feet.
No, not the
Okay.
So-
Okay.
Second.
All right.
So we had Paul make the motion, and then I heard Mark second it, and then Ron.
I'll let Ron
And then
take the
did it.
second.
Are you gonna let Ron take?
I'm gonna let Ron
Okay.
take the second.
Okay, so that's the cap on the number of apartments,
That's not the feet?
not the fee. No, just making sure we're throwing that around.
I thought it was 300 apartments.
Yeah. Okay, and then they're gonna be coming back for site plan approval, right?
Special
So,
permit.
I'm sorry, special permit. So, just to recap before I call for a vote, the cap is on 500 units, apartments that Ron requested.
Correct.
And then, as submitted for liquor, 300 feet.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have to
As
say it if
submitted.
it's in there.
Whatever,
Well,
the text amendment as they said.
That language.
Just
yeah.
clarify, that's fine. The
Okay.
motion is to approve with a cap on the number of apartments of 500.
Right, and the rest as
Yeah.
written.
Rest of the
The
language.
rest is as written.
Just
As
making
they
sure,
requested.
okay.
And typically, just this is just typically, if there was an amendment, you would in fact do a motion to amend, but Commissioner Wyman said that he would add the amendment. I think that's fine. I think it's clear on the record. Again, that is the motion that has been made by Commissioner Wyman, been seconded by Commissioner Pettin, and now you vote. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval with the amendments and conditions of the 500. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Board unanimously approves. Text amendment, P 2610.
How about, excuse me, can I just?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh, aye,
Yeah,
sorry.
he said, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have to comment on, she was asking for effective date, or that's just gonna happen?
That's just gonna happen.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, all right.
P 26-11, 200 Valley Service Road.
Any conversation on that?
Yeah, do you have any comments on that one?
When I make a motion, I make a motion that we approve the application with applicable staff comments, with the condition that at any time in the future, the applicant is asked by the town
The
to
sidewalk.
extend the sidewalk, they will do so at their cost.
Okay, good.
Just for the record, we already have that authority. So,
Okay.
but, I mean, you can include
Okay.
it, certainly in your motion.
I
but,
like it in there.
The way the sidewalk statute or ordinance is written in town, that the selectmen just have to order a sidewalk, and that's all that's required. So if the selectmen decided that you needed to have a sidewalk in front of your house, you're gonna have a sidewalk in front of your house, so.
At the owner's cost.
Correct.
I did not know the
Neither
selectmen
did I.
could do that.
Yep.
Doesn't happen very
Let's
often.
do the whole town.
I don't think it's ever whole town.
Well,
Well,
it's
that's
kind
it.
of hard to enforce it because you're not holding a bond on it.
So that's my motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Any
I'll
other-
second that.
And, so we have a motion with the amendment, condition and second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Board unanimously approves. P 26-11. Thank you. Thank you. P 26-12, 322 State Street. That's the Liuzzi property. Do I hear a motion on this?
I make a motion to approve the plan with
With
applicable
condition.
staff comments with the addition of a sidewalk on the two sides of the building where the addition is taking place.
Basically, replace, we just move out what's there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Ron, that was with the sidewalk, did you say? I'm
Yes.
sorry, they were.
5-foot
Yeah,
sidewalk.
the sidewalk that they're,
Isn't that standard?
is that standard 5?
Okay, thank you.
So that would be a raised sidewalk
Raised
versus
sidewalk,
just.
yeah.
For
Yeah, integral-
safety,
integral
dealing
concrete
with the
curb
health
sidewalk.
and safety.
Yeah.
Was there anything else, Andy? There was just on the sidewalk?
Two sides where the additions are, yeah.
we discussed city sidewalk, and that's out,
Correct.
and, yeah, there's nothing else.
Okay, so we have a motion with the condition of the sidewalks being added for safety.
I second that.
And it's been second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Board unanimously approves P 26-12. And change of use, 45 Quinnipiac Avenue, Unit D and E.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Any questions, concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Board unanimously approves change of use for 45 Quinnipiac Avenue. Change of use for 117 Washington Avenue, Unit 2.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I don't need to weigh in.
All those, any changes, concerns, questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Board unanimously approves P 26-12. The only other thing we have was accepting of the minutes from last month.
Get a copy.
Did the minutes go out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of papers in that.
So myself, Paul, Mark.
I would like to make a comment. Whoever was responsible for getting us the package a week ahead, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No problem, Roger.
Accepting of the minutes from March 2nd.
I'll make a motion.
And changes, and say, Mark, all we need is 3, right? Because that's all, Ken's not here, Benjamin's not here.
Yep, just majority.
What, just 3? Okay.
Yeah.
I already approved them.
All right, all those in favor for minutes, March 2nd, say aye.
Who seconded it?
What's that?
Who seconded?
All those in favor? Aye? Okay. Anything else to come in front of the board that needs to go on the record? Have a motion to adjourn?
Why would we do that? Motion to adjourn.
Second?
You count.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Paul?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion adjourned. Good night. Go UConn.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.